So I had quite an interesting time with my robes this morning. Misbehaving robes. My bowing mat all wadded up this morning during our wonderful circling dance. And then, for whatever reason, I couldn't get my kesa folded right. It's like, oh, wow, this is my grieving brain. And, well, maybe not. Maybe stuff just happens and I'm not responsible for it. Wow, that's possible. So it's like life gives us the opportunity to either continue to struggle or just give it all up. Just give it up. Stop the struggle. So I'm wonderful. And just in case I didn't learn enough from those two things, the back of my robe ended up in the toilet. So I had a great morning. So everything gets modified in this life as we kind of go on. So I came across this wonderful quote from this British philosopher who's a humanist called A.C. Grayling. And it really made me think. He said, a human lifespan is less than 1,000 months long. You need to make some time to think about how to live it. We need to make time. He didn't say take time. That's like, take it. And that's one way. But what if we created the time? What if we made it? It's like making something. We make our time. We make time to think about how we want to live our lives. And we can think all we want, but then we have to live it. Okay. So this is day 2. Got a couple more days. And we have a few days together because we're marking the awakening of Buddha, Prince Siddhartha Gautama. And we meet for sesshin, and it's a lot of meditation, a lot of focus, a lot of concentration. It takes determination to attend and to see this through. It takes determination and resolve. So we sit together to support each other in that determination and resolve. In person and online in this wonderfully hybrid form. Okay. One Sangha, it's all Indra's web. So I don't know who in Sangha did something early this morning and helped my robe end up in the toilet. I want to know.
Who's that guy?
But we're all connected, so I hope nobody else's robe ends up there too. So, okay. But this resolve and determination mirrors Siddhartha's own when he decided to sit under the Bodhi tree. It's a wonderful story, and it's so rich and filled with how we all just really come to practice isn't that much different than how Buddha also did. So, I mean, we are Buddha, right? Okay. So Rick Fields has a book called When the Swans Came to the Lake, and it's an older book, and it's a wonderful book about how Buddhism came to the West. And he kind of encapsulated this journey. Siddhartha was a prince of the Shakya clan, and he was born about 567 BC in the foothills of the Himalayas. He was a prince of the Shakya clan. And before he was born, there's actually a prophecy that, and maybe it was about 12 years before he was born, that's how it all goes. You know, a lot of this, we're not 100% sure about anything, that he would become a great sage And his father did not want that to happen. That did not fit in with the way his father saw the family tree. And so to prevent this from happening, he shielded him from anything about the outside world. And he basically had everything. He had a lovely wife, family, riches. He was an athlete, did all sorts of stuff, and had everything. So when he went out into the world, he was with his charioteer, and he wanted to go into the city. And that was one thing his father didn't want him to do. So breaking rules in our family. Okay. We've all done that, right? Okay, we want to do it our way because we want to figure it out. Okay, we want the experience. So, but something really nagged at him and was unsettling inside. And so when he went outside the gates with his charioteer, he saw three things that really distressed him. He saw a person that was sick. He saw one that was old and aging and wrinkled. And he saw a corpse that was being taken to the charnel grounds. He was not prepared for this. So this was a wake up call. Now his charioteer told him that all beings are subject to sickness, old age, and death. And this was a shocker to Siddhartha. It disturbed him. And on the way back to the palace, he saw a wandering ascetic who was in a simple robe and was carrying one bowl, signifying he was a sadhu. And at that point, Siddhartha decided that he's leaving the palace to find the answer to the problem of suffering. Okay. So it seemed that his own suffering is what set him on the path, his own suffering about trying to figure out this sickness, old age, and death, the great matter. And it's so much like what brings all of us to practice too. Some distress, something unsettled. We're curious. We want to know, experience. And there may be some things in the way of that. So suffering brings us to practice in one way or another, as does impermanence and death. Okay. So the resolve that we bring to sesshin mirrors Buddha's resolve. He left his family, cut his hair. Some of us shaved their hair and put on simple robes, changed his clothes. So we put on robes and change our clothes, put on bibs and stuff, change how we look. Okay. He looked at all sorts of methods and teachers and learned how to, and there were three that he worked quite a bit with, apparently. And from one, he learned how to discipline his mind and enter into what was called the sphere of nothingness. And I imagine that means just emptiness, only emptiness. However, he did not feel liberated by that and left. Okay. He also learned how to enter pure concentration of mind, which was neither conscious or unconscious. But he was not liberated from that either and left, even though his teachers loved him and wanted him to continue to be with them. He then practiced incredible austerities, and for 6 years, and he had some, I think there were 5 companions as the story goes. He only ate a single grain of rice a day and pitted his mind against his body. I actually have a statue at home that shows this emaciated Buddha that's basically a skeleton covered with skin. So then he decided this wasn't working. He was not liberated. So depriving the body, trying to get the mind to overstand the body. Doesn't work. So he decided to eat, and his companions were very upset, and so they left him. And there was a woman whose name was Sujata, offered him a dish of milk and some honey. And when he was nourished, he bathed in the river and then set off to the Bodhi tree and sat. Now, he had essentially done and tried everything, but had not awakened. He decided he would sit and not stand up until he woke up, until he solved the matter of life and death, impermanence and suffering. He took his seat, did not look away, and did not move. So that's what we're about. Taking that seat and not looking away. Okay. And it's a challenge, and this comes up on sesshin, to not move, and it sounds so simple, but there are all sorts of levels to it. In meditation, we physically don't move, and this decision can be counter to everything and every instinct we have. My back hurts. My nose is itchy. Why not just scratch it? I can do it really subtly. And if you're really careful, you can just move your back and have nobody know. Okay? I feel tight. Why not get up and stretch? When is the bell gonna ring? Why am I here? Why did I even decide to come here? Okay, so a lot of thinking. Okay. We trail off, we start balancing our checkbook or thinking about, oh, I should have gotten that Christmas present, for somebody, and we lose sight of what we're doing. But we remember, because each of us is holding the other. Okay, we're all holding each other. Okay. We lose sight and then remember, sit, stay. Sit, stay. So those of us who know puppies know what a challenge that is. Okay, so because we like to move, and there's nothing wrong with moving. Okay, we don't want it to be a distraction. So we're learning not to budge. And I was thinking of what our Dharma brother, Kodo Washi Dallas Chief Eagle, calls sitting like a stone. He teaches children, Native American children, to sit. And he calls it sitting like a stone in silence. Now, Buddha saw the suffering of the world, but he didn't just see it, he experienced it. And he was touched by it, touched by sickness, old age, and death. And instead of going numb, he let himself feel it all the way and penetrate. This type of resolve, it can look like steely determination, okay, frowning. But, and there may be some of that, we have to be clear. But it's actually an act of softness and vulnerability, because the heart must be open. Heart must be open, okay, to face the pain and be open and to not turn away. It's our own pain, it's others' pain. It's all the same. Okay. It's penetrate and abide. That's the KNOW on the inhale, the NO on the exhale. Bring the experience in. No. No. Over and over and over again in our practice. Our vulnerability is our greatest strength. Quote Jumbo. So when our world crumbles, what we were certain of dissolves, we have a choice. We can run away, or we can open to it with compassion. So, and there are a lot of ways of running away, and as human beings, we get wonderfully creative around it. Can physically run away, leave the situation. We can dissociate. What problem? I don't see a problem, right? We can get really depressed, super anxious, everything's wrong, cynical, angry. We can drink too much, eat too much, and these are temporary. They just numb us a bit. And sometimes a little numbing isn't bad until you figure it out. The trick is not to let it harden you. And our experience tells us over and over and over again that running away does not bring healing or freedom. Okay. And Junpo frequently said that the root of, if not all, most of the difficulties and mistakes he made in his life was caused by running away from his pain instead of facing it. Okay, interesting way of looking at it. We don't like pain. Staying with until we get the information and then knowing what to do. So pleasure and pain are part of our whole life unfolding. And with practice, we can manage, maybe eliminate suffering with practice, but we can't eliminate the pain, okay? Sickness, old age, and death. That's a given. We can change our relationship to the pain and wake up. Practice, practice, practice over and over again. Okay. We live with our feet on shifting sands of impermanence, and as long as we're not lined up with this, okay, really let that in, our lives will be a constant argument with ourselves, be an argument with something. So, and losing Junpo has really brought this home to me in a very, very profound way. A part of me was truly hoping that my practice would shield me from the pain of losing him. Practice doesn't do that. You still feel the pain. Maybe it would save me from the pain. Nope. And what I found is that in beginning to embrace the deeper truth of impermanence, although it didn't save me and hasn't saved me from the grief, but perhaps may teach me to embrace the moments of deep pain without so much argument. Impermanence shows us how to live in a world of conditions that by their very nature are not stable. We're seeing, but the earth is turning. Okay. We're not falling off right now. Okay. But we don't know what's going to happen in the future, which is in a second. Okay. Maybe we learn how to live without being so shattered, so our heart is not held hostage by conditions and conditioning. As Junpo was dying, he was fading in and out and had a moment of wonderful clarity that I'd like to share. He whispered, "I don't know how to do this." And I replied, "There is nothing to do." And then he chuckled a bit and said, "There I go, trying to fix problems that don't exist." Even to the last second, right? And you know, that's a lot of what we do. We keep trying to fix problems that don't exist in the big picture. If we see our life as a problem to be solved, then it becomes nothing but a problem to be solved. And if we just find the right solution, everything's fine. If I do this or have this, then I'll be happy. Or I'll go on a vacation, then I'll really be happy. How about just being happy? Not dependent on anything. Okay. Doesn't mean ignore. It means how about being happy? How about just living life? If we have right understanding in our practice, no matter what we're doing, we can enjoy it. Okay? Doesn't matter how long it takes. What's important is that we're enjoying the ride. Even if, as we sit here together, suffering like mountains in silence, counting our breaths and not budging, saying, why in the world am I here? We can enjoy it. We can enjoy it. The point is to enjoy life by not be fooled by stuff, not to get tricked up. So open to the truth of the joy that's there as well. It's both. One is not separate from the other. Now, Zenke Blanche Hartman was an abbot of San Francisco Zen Center. And she had a heart attack in 1989. And she passed away in 2016. And as she was leaving the hospital, she felt the warmth. Okay, so here it is. It was the experience that told her the truth. She felt the warmth on her face and then realized, wow, I'm alive. I could have been dead, but I'm alive. And the rest of my life is a gift. And as she writes this, she thought, well, actually, my life has always been a gift. It's always been a gift. I wasn't owed this life. I was just given it. And she went on to describe how freeing that was, to feel truly alive. And she mentioned, I don't have anything more special than knowing that just to be alive is enough. Okay. So I've had this realization, okay, this incredible gift of life. What if it really is all about the hokey pokey? We got to think about this. Okay? So the origin of the hokey pokey is kind of not very clear, and there are a lot of variations in it. I think in the UK it's called the hokey cokey. And it may have come from hocus pocus. Don't know. And there's this Scandinavian demon called Ochus Bocus, who that if you said his name, he'd help you with some magic. And that's kind of where hocus pocus came from. But in Ireland, it got a bit distorted, and they thought it had something to do with the Protestants mocking the Catholics around the changing the bread and wine into the body and blood, transubstantiation, transformation, okay? So I was thinking about this, and it's like, well, yeah, the hokey pokey is about transformation. Okay. You put your right arm in, you put your right arm out, you put your right arm in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey, and you turn yourself about. That's what it's all about, okay? So you decide to put yourself in. You shake it all around. We shake how we think up, okay? Koans, challenges, sitting, shakes us up. And then we take that experience and we turn it around. We understand what it means to us. And then we come back in. So come back in with a different perspective. But it takes the stepping into the circle to do that. It takes the movement to do that. So I encourage you to do the hokey pokey with your whole self, not just your elbow. Although you can stir enough stuff up by that. Okay, you can give it a try, see if it worked, and try a finger. Depends on what finger you use. So we're already here in a circle. So let's hokey pokey. Okay. I have, to finish up here, I wanted to read something from the Chimpo Roku. It's one of my favorites. It's really lovely. It's your life is falling rain. As the earth turns, the rain falls. The rain never falls in an inappropriate place. No snowflake ever falls in an inappropriate place. Go outside and stand in the rain and watch where the drops land. Each and every drop lands perfectly, exactly where it should. It's the same with your life. Whether you like it or don't like it is wholly insignificant to the falling rain and the turning earth. Any so-called pleasurable or so-called painful experience is the falling rain. But when we grasp and cling and start struggling for or against, it makes it more difficult for us. The freedom of allowing your life to be the falling rain and the turning earth is so simple. Just go a little deeper until you can experience your life as falling rain. Thank you.